Hi, my name is Damian Trapp, and this is my journal for the Mexico Study Abroad trip of spring 2018. Now, this trip took place from the 10th of March to the 18th of March during Georgia State's spring break of 2018. We left the Hartsfield-Jackson Airport in Atlanta on March 10th, early in the morning, around 10 a.m., and took the flight to Mexico City. We had a few hours of layover time in Mexico City and then flew to Oaxaca. We probably arrived there later in the day, around late afternoon, and took a little van to our hotel. Many of us were tired, so some stayed at the hotel and, got some rest, and a few went out to go eat with Dr. John Bunting. I myself personally went with Beth, the co-director of the trip, to get street food for an hour or two, and that was amazing and delicious. I got to know the Oaxaca a little bit, and that was basically the whole first day. A lot of traveling, but very fun. On the second day, March 11th, we started off by taking the van to the Monte Alban ruins early in the morning. These ruins were in the outskirts of Oaxaca, mountainous area, higher altitude. We had a tour guide named Julio, and he showed us around the ruins and told us the history, and it was a giant grassy plain. Learned a lot about the surrounding area and the history of the indigenous people that built that many hundreds of years ago. It was a very hot day, so I got a little sunburnt personally. After the ruins, we went to the marketplace. We split off, and some of us went to the market with Beth, some of us went back to the hotel. I went with Beth and a few others to the market, and it was a lot of fun. We got some tlayudas, is what they were called. We walked back from the marketplace to the hotel afterwards, and then we also had a little meeting where John and Beth said some things to prepare us for the next day, because the next 2 days we were going to spend at WABHO, the school, and many of the students on this trip were going to teach English. We separated into groups, had a little meeting, talked about our plans for the teaching, the English teaching, the next day. March 12th was the third day on this trip, and we started off very early in the morning by going to WABHO, the Universidad Autónoma Benito Juárez de Oaxaca. We split off into our groups and sat in on some classes, saw many different teachers teach English and analyze their teaching methods. We each got assigned a tour guide, one of the students from the English department there at the school, and they showed us around campus and told us a lot about the history of the school. And then we got a nice group photo, and then we went back to the little conference room, and some people held some little talks. And then we got some delicious food catered to us by the WABHO University. That was amazing. At the end of the day, we went to a partition of WABHO University called Balboa, which was sort of a part of the school where almost anyone could come and learn. We walked back to the hotel, and then we got some rest, because the next day we would have to go right back to the university very early in the morning, and many of the students would have to teach English, which was a first-time experience for many of us. So in anticipation of that and the long day ahead of us, we got some rest. So the following day, March 13th, we all went back to WABHO, and the students that did have to teach a lesson that day got ready for it, and I filmed a lot of the members of our trip who were teaching English. I got a lot of footage of them for Sally, who was actually making a research project on the teaching methods of our students. But luckily and thankfully, we got some more food catered to us by WABHO. Once again, amazing and delicious food, very kind gesture. And that was basically our whole day. It was the most stressful day for a lot of the students on the trip. Before the end of the day, though, the staff of WABHO surprised us with one more kind food catering, at a restaurant in Oaxaca, and it was some of the most scrumptious food, and it was a beautiful little dinner with all of us together to have some time to talk and get to know each other even better. The next day, March 14th, we woke up and all got in a van, and it took us straight to the airport in Oaxaca. We had a few hours there and then got on a plane and flew to Mexico City. This was another big travel day, so that took up most of the time. We arrived in Mexico City in the afternoon and took the van to our hotel, which was located in the midst of the city, right next to the Zocalo. The hotel was amazingly fancy and really, really pretty. When we arrived, many of us were tired and went to sleep, but some of us had time and had enough energy to go to a ballet, which was a one-of-a-kind experience. The talented artists that performed there were beyond anything I had ever imagined. I got some decent videos, but they don't even do it justice. Afterwards, me and Sally, Morgan, and Connor all went to Chinatown. We walked around Chinatown, and that was a nice little way to wrap up the day of long traveling. March 15th was another big day of events and workshops. We spent it at a school called UPN. The school's atmosphere was wonderful. The sun was shining and it was a beautiful day, so we got to see the best side of it. Me and Sally even got a little ping pong game in. After the tour, we all went to the lunch hall there and got some, once again, amazing food. Very, very thankful that they catered that. And the last big event that we went to at the school was an Indigenous Languages workshop, in which we were separated into 4 groups, I think, and each got a different Indigenous language and a group of people who tried to teach us that. When we got up on stage, definitely the stage fright set in for almost all of us, and we tried the best we could to repeat the phrases that we learned, but we probably butchered it pretty bad. It was a very eye-opening experience, though, and I am ever so thankful for it. It was very humbling, honestly. So that was the end of that day. When we got back to the hotel, me, Connor, and Morgan set out on a little adventure, explored Mexico City a little bit, and got some amazing churros, which perfect way to wrap up that day. The day after, March 16th, we got up early and went back to UPN a final time. This time, though, we went straight back to the room where we did the Indigenous Languages workshop, and many different teachers and staff members held presentations about varying subjects. Sally, our own student, held a presentation about China and her personal experience, who moved to America some years ago and learned English. And that presentation really stuck out to me. Everything was really interesting. But thankfully, when we got back onto the bus to leave, we had some delicious sandwiches and a new guide who did a wonderful job of teaching us about the city and its history. Our next stop was the Frida Kahlo Museum, in which we learned about the beautiful life story of Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera. Also, thank you to Dr. John Bunting for getting me and Connor a photo pass, because we got to take some very beautiful pictures and videos. Our next stop, the Diego Rivera Museum, which unfortunately it started raining halfway through, but most of it was inside. So we got to see the full experience, but both museums were absolutely stunning. After visiting the 2 museums, we went to our first marketplace in Mexico City, which, although, in similar vein to the markets in Oaxaca, had a different atmosphere to the Oaxacan markets, and offered also a different variety of souvenirs and clothes. I think I got a shirt there, so that was fun. And afterwards, we ate some dinner at a fancy restaurant, and unfortunately, I had a little bit of a stomach ache, and I was very tired, so I rested my head and didn't eat too much. But still, it was truly wonderful. But the next morning, I felt a lot better. It had basically all gone away. So I was ready to go on March 17th to Teotihuacan. Put on some sunscreen because it was crazy hot. The Teotihuacan ruins are absolutely awe-inspiring. We got some more very delicious food afterwards, and then headed back out to another marketplace. It was getting pretty dark, and a lot of the shops were closing down, but it was a very beautiful, artsy market this time. It was a little different from the day before, and helped Sally buy some magnets for her teachers and professors, because Sally didn't speak very much Spanish at all, and neither did I, but I tried my best to help translate. So at the end of the day, since this was our final full day in Mexico, we walked to a restaurant in Mexico City and got serenaded by a little mariachi band that came in too. The restaurant was the perfect ending to the whole trip, and it was a nice little sign-off for everyone. March 18th, and early in the morning, we left on the bus and began our long trip back to Atlanta, and landed in Atlanta around 4, I think. So, although it was a goodbye, a little bit sad, and I missed it a lot, I made a lot of friends. I think we all are very well acquainted with each other now. I will definitely be seeing everyone again. It was an absolutely amazing experience. So this is not like the main video I'm making about the trip. This is just my little journal submission. Sorry for my bad voiceover. Sorry if my voiceover is annoying. I haven't done this before ever, but thanks for pulling through and listening to me talk. And thanks for watching.